The cold of the stainless steel examination table seeps through your clothes, a chilling premonition of the stillness to come. You can feel its unyielding surface beneath your hands as they rest on the frail body of your companion. The air is thick with the sterile chemical scent of antiseptic, a smell that will forever be linked to farewell in your mind. It's a clean smell, but it feels dirty, tainted by the purpose of this room. Above, the white fluorescent glare is merciless, casting no soft shadows and revealing every detail of the dull, lifeless coat of Buddy, your dog, your family. The silence in the room is a physical weight, a heavy blanket that smothers all sound, except for the shallow, ragged breaths he takes and the frantic, chaotic drumming of your own heart against your ribs. It's a quiet so profound it feels like the world is holding its breath with you. You look at him, and the fluorescent lights catch the graying fur around his muzzle, a map of the years you've shared. Each white hair is a story, a winter walk in the snow, a summer afternoon chasing a ball under a brilliant sun. His eyes, once bright with mischief and boundless loyalty, are now clouded, distant, looking at something you can't see. The gentle rise and fall of his chest is barely perceptible, a fragile rhythm that is slowing with every passing moment. You run a hand down his back, feeling the sharp ridges of his spine where there was once solid muscle. The texture of his fur is wrong, no longer thick and soft but thin and coarse, a testament to the battle his body is losing. You are his entire world, and you are about to let it end. The veterinarian moves with a practiced quiet, her expression a careful balance of professional compassion and solemn duty. She avoids your gaze, her focus on the small vial in her hand, the clear liquid inside gleaming under the unforgiving light. The syringe rests on a steel counter nearby, a slender instrument of mercy that looks like a weapon. Time itself seems to warp in this sterile space, each second stretching into a painful eternity. The decision has been made. The papers signed, but the finality of it all crashes down on you now with the force of a physical blow. You are caught in the terrible space between love and loss, where the kindest thing you can do is also the most heartbreaking. Every instinct screams at you to run, to scoop him up and flee, but you are chained to this moment by your devotion. You slide off the cold plastic chair and kneel on the linoleum floor, the chill seeping into your knees. You need to be on his level, to look him in the eye one last time, but you can't bring yourself to do it. Instead, you wrap your arms around his fragile neck, pulling him gently against your chest. You bury your face in his fur, inhaling his scent, a familiar mix of earth and home now tinged with the faint, metallic odor of illness. This is the last time you will feel his warmth, the last time you will hold him. You whisper his name, the sound swallowed by his fur, a final, broken prayer. The world outside this room ceases to exist. There is only this embrace, a desperate anchor in a raging sea of grief that threatens to pull you under and drown you in its depths. And then, something happens that shatters the grim resignation of the moment. It's a movement so small, you almost think you imagined it, a flicker of the old strength you thought was long gone. With an effort that seems to cost him everything, Buddy lifts his head from the cold table. He turns slowly, his tired eyes finding yours for a fleeting second, and then he returns the embrace. He rests his heavy head on your shoulder, his muzzle pressing into your neck with a final, deliberate act of love. It's not a simple nuzzle. It's a hug, a conscious gesture of comfort from him to you. The vet freezes, her hand hovering over the syringe. Everyone in the room holds their breath, witnessing a love so pure it defies the very end of life. In that impossible moment, you feel it, a faint, rhythmic thumping against your own chest. It's his heartbeat, a soft and steady drum counting down the final seconds of his life. You close your eyes, trying to memorize the sensation, to burn this last precious gift into your soul. The weight of his head on your shoulder is both a comfort and a crushing burden, an anchor holding you in this perfect, terrible stillness. The sterile room, the compassionate vet, the gleaming syringe, it all fades into a distant blur. There is only the warmth of his body, the scent of his fur, and the fading beat of his heart against yours. The question hangs in the silent air, as tangible as the tears on your face. Is this the very last heartbeat you will ever feel? Your name is Liam Miller, and your hands tell the story of your life. They are maps of hard work, etched with the grease and calluses earned under the hoods of countless cars in a noisy Pittsburgh garage. These hands can diagnose a sputtering engine by sound alone, they can coax life back into rusted metal, and they can piece together the most complex of mechanical puzzles with a patient, practiced grace. Yet, as you kneel on this cold, sterile floor, they are utterly useless. They can't mend the failing body of your only true companion. The familiar, sharp scent of motor oil that clings to your skin feels like a mockery in this room, a place that smells of endings and antiseptic. You are a man who fixes things, a man whose entire worth is tied to your ability to make things whole again, but you cannot fix him. You remember the winters, the way the Pittsburgh air would bite at your cheeks sharp and clean. You'd walk for hours, the crunch of fresh snow under your boots the only sound besides the happy panting at your side. You can still feel the warmth of his body pressed against your leg, a small furnace against the biting cold, and see the plume of his breath mingling with yours in the frosty air. He was a constant, a furry shadow that followed you through every season of your life. He was there after long shifts, his tail a frantic metronome of joy, erasing the day's exhaustion. He was the silent confidant who listened to your frustrations and your dreams without judgment. This bond wasn't built on words, but on 1,000 shared silences, on a loyalty so pure it felt like the only unshakable truth in your world. Life for you has always been a tightrope walk, a careful balance between paying the rent and keeping the lights on. The sun would rise, casting long shadows from the garage doors, and it would set before you wiped the final layer of grime from your hands. It's an honest living, but it's a demanding one, leaving little room for anything but work and a deep, bone-weary fatigue. Buddy was the one luxury you allowed yourself, the one piece of your life that wasn't about survival. He was the warmth waiting in your small apartment, the living, breathing antidote to the loneliness that often crept in after the roar of the engines faded. He was the reason your house felt like a home. Now the very system you work so hard to stay afloat in has presented you with a bill you can never pay, the cost of more time. The silence in your apartment will be the hardest part. You know this with a certainty that chills you to your core. Right now, it's a space filled with the small sounds of his life, the soft jingle of his collar as he repositions himself on his bed, the gentle thud of his tail against the worn wooden floor when you speak his name, the quiet rhythm of his breathing as he sleeps. He is the anchor that keeps you from drifting away on a vast, quiet sea of isolation. Without him, the silence will no longer be peaceful. It will be a crushing, absolute void. Losing him is not like losing a pet. It is like having the heart ripped out of your home, leaving behind an empty space that will echo with every step you take, a constant, painful reminder of what you've lost. This final act feels like the ultimate betrayal, a violation of the one sacred vow you've ever made. Your loyalty to him has been the most defining virtue of your adult life. You've gone without, so he could have the best food. You've structured your days, your weekends, your entire world around his needs. He has always come first. This decision, this moment, is born from that same profound love, a mercy you must grant him even though it feels like a dagger in your own heart. You would carry his pain for him if you could. You would trade places with him in a second. But you can't. The only thing your loyalty demands now is that you let him go, that you absorb all the suffering yourself so that his can finally end, even if it destroys you. You look up from his fur, your vision blurred with tears, and meet the veterinarian's gaze. She has seen this 100 times, this terrible intersection of love and loss, but there is something in her eyes that tells you, this moment is different. The memory of his impossible embrace, the feeling of his head resting on your shoulder, is a brand on your soul. It was a final gift, a gesture of comfort from him to you, a love so strong it defied the very process of dying. He was comforting you. The thought is a fresh wave of grief, but it's interrupted by a subtle shift in the room. The vet leans forward slightly, her brow furrowed not with pity, but with a sudden sharp professional curiosity. And then she speaks, her voice cutting through the silent room, shattering the grim finality with 3 unexpected words. The syringe is ready, a slender vessel of peace. You watch as the clear fluid, the very essence of a painless end, gleams under the merciless fluorescent light. It's a strange kind of mercy, one that looks so much like its opposite. You close your eyes, unable to witness the final motion, the press of the plunger that will sever the bond that has defined your world. You feel Buddy's weight in your arms, a comforting, familiar pressure that will soon be just a memory. You whisper a final goodbye, the words, a ragged, broken stream of love and apology, lost in the fur against your cheek. The world shrinks to this single terrible point in time, a moment suspended between a shared past and a future you must now face utterly and completely alone. It is the end of everything that matters. But then a voice cuts through the tense, suffocating silence of the room. It's not a whisper of condolence. It is sharp, clear, and utterly unexpected. Wait. The single word hangs in the air, a discordant note in a grim symphony. It's a sound that doesn't belong here, in this space dedicated to endings. You open your eyes, blinking back tears, your mind struggling to process the interruption. Your heart, which had been hammering a funeral drum against your ribs, stumbles, confused. The veterinarian is not moving to administer the injection. She is frozen, her hand hovering in the air, her gaze fixed on Buddy with a sudden, sharp intensity that has nothing to do with pity and everything to do with a startling, professional focus. The final moment is broken. She puts the syringe down. The soft click of glass on stainless steel echoes like a gunshot in the silent room, shattering the grim finality you had just accepted. There's something here, she says again, her voice firmer now, stripped of its gentle sympathy and replaced with a focused curiosity that chills you in a completely new way. She leans over Buddy, her movements now quick and precise. She gently lifts one of his eyelids, shining a penlight into the clouded depths of his eye, then tests the response of a nerve behind his ear. You watch, a statue carved from disbelief, not daring to breathe, not daring to move. You are trapped in a strange limbo, caught between the death you had already mourned and an impossible, terrifying alternative you can't yet name or understand. The atmosphere in the room has transformed completely. The heavy blanket of grief has been thrown off, replaced by an electric, uncertain tension. The sterile space is no longer a chamber of quiet goodbyes, but a scene of intense, urgent investigation. The vet continues her examination, her brow furrowed in concentration as she taps a paw, listens to his chest again, and feels along his spine with practiced fingers. Every small action is a question, every observation a potential clue. The finality you had braced for has fractured, splintering into 1,000 sharp-edged possibilities. You are no longer a grieving owner preparing for loss. You are a witness, a helpless spectator to a medical mystery unfolding at the very edge of life. And you don't know if the answer will save you or destroy you all over again. Finally, she straightens up and looks directly at you. The professional mask of compassion she wore earlier is gone, replaced by the energized focus of a problem solver who has just found a critical flaw in the equation. His reflexes, she says, her words slow and deliberate, each one landing with the weight of a physical blow. The way he lifted his head to you, the response in his pupils, It's all inconsistent with the initial diagnosis. It doesn't add up. The words are not a promise, not a cure, not a guarantee of anything at all. But they are a crack in the solid wall of your despair. And through that crack, a tiny, dangerous stream of something you had extinguished begins to trickle through. It's hope, and it feels more terrifying than the grief it is starting to displace. The procedure is stopped. The syringe, once a symbol of mercy, now sits forgotten on the steel tray, its purpose rendered obsolete. The death sentence has been stayed, but you have not been granted a pardon. This room is no longer a tomb. It is a crossroads, and you have no map for the path that has just appeared before you. The veterinarian explains that the grim assessment that brought you to this precipice of loss was, in all likelihood, wrong. It's not a terminal illness that is stealing him from you. It is something else entirely, something she never expected to see. The revelation rewrites your entire reality in a single, breathless instant, but this new chapter comes with a new, heavier chain. Hope is not a gift, it's a burden, and you have yet to learn its impossible price. The diagnosis rewrites your reality, but the relief is a fleeting ghost. Hope, which had just bloomed in the sterile air of the clinic, withers under the harsh glare of a single impossible number. $12,000. The veterinarian explains the condition, a rare neurological affliction, her words a calm, professional murmur that you can barely process. All you can hear is the price tag, a toll booth on the road to his survival that you can never afford to pay. The figure hangs between you, more solid and real than the chair you're sitting on. It is a mountain cast, in cold, hard currency, and you are standing at its base, with nothing but your empty, grease-stained hands. The sterile room once again feels like a trap, but this time the bars are not made of grief, but of a crushing, suffocating economic reality you know all too well. You leave the clinic with a new kind of burden. It's not the weight of a final goodbye, but the frantic, desperate weight of a ticking clock. The veterinarian's final words echo in your mind. Every day you wait for the surgery is a gamble, a risk of permanent damage, a chance that he could slip back into that terrifying stillness from which he was so miraculously pulled. The familiar Pittsburgh streets feel alien, the gray buildings like towering, indifferent judges. The sun glinting off the steel bridges seems to mock you. You now have an enemy you can name, a battle you can fight, but the weapons required are ones you do not possess. You look at Buddy beside you in the passenger seat, his breathing still shallow but steady. A fragile truce in a war that has just been declared, and a fire of desperation begins to burn away the cold dread in your chest. Your first offensive is against the cold, polished world of finance. You walk into a bank, the air conditioned to a sterile chill, and face a loan officer whose smile never quite reaches his eyes. You lay out your story, your voice steady despite the frantic drumming of your heart, explaining the urgency, the life hanging in the balance. But he doesn't see a man fighting for his family. He sees a balance sheet, a mechanic with a modest income, a credit score that is good but not great. The word denied is delivered with a placid, professional sympathy that feels more insulting than outright cruelty. You try another bank, and then a credit union, but the story is the same. The system, with its unyielding rules and calculated risks, becomes a monolithic antagonist, a fortress whose doors are slammed shut, leaving you chained to the cruel logic that a life's worth can be measured in dollars. Just as the last ember of hope is about to be extinguished by the icy indifference of the world, a small warmth flickers to life. Your phone rings, and it's the veterinarian. Her voice is different now, stripped of clinical detachment and filled with a determined fire. She tells you she hasn't been able to stop thinking about that final embrace, that impossible hug. She informs you that she has waived all of her consultation fees and, without even asking, has already created a GoFundMe page, her words painting a vivid, heartbreaking picture of Buddy's loyalty for the world to see. It is a lifeline thrown into a raging sea. You stare at the first few small donations that appear on the screen, each one a tiny pinprick of light in the overwhelming darkness, a whisper from a stranger that you are not fighting this battle entirely on your own. The next day, the world pushes back against the darkness alongside you. At the garage, surrounded by the familiar symphony of clanging metal and hissing air tools, your oldest coworker, Sal, a man of few words and a perpetually grumpy demeanor, pulls you aside. He shoves a crumpled envelope into your hand, his calloused fingers rough against yours. "For the pup," he grunts, before turning his back to hide the emotion in his eyes. Inside is $200, a small fortune for him. That evening, a knock on your door reveals your neighbor holding a steaming casserole dish, her expression one of deep, unspoken empathy. These are not solutions, not a check for $12,000, but they are fuel. They are small, powerful currents of human kindness, proving that in a world of cold transactions, compassion can still be the most valuable currency of all. But these small victories are not enough to win the war. The initial surge of donations on the fundraising page slows to a painful trickle, then stops completely. The total stalled thousands of dollars short of the goal. The mountain remains, its peak just as distant and unreachable as before. The ticking of the clock in your mind grows louder, more frantic with each passing day as you watch Buddy, his moments of strength becoming shorter, the weakness threatening to reclaim him. The warmth of community support begins to feel like a fading memory against the harsh reality of the numbers on the screen. A new, colder despair begins to set in, the terrible thought that you were given a sliver of hope only to have it ripped away. You look at him, sleeping on his worn bed, and the question claws at your throat: have you already failed him? You are sitting in the dim light of your small apartment, the silence a thick, suffocating blanket. The initial warmth from your friends' support has faded, replaced by the cold, unmoving number on the fundraising page, a digital tombstone marking the death of your hope. You stare at Buddy, asleep in his worn-out bed, his breathing a fragile rhythm in the quiet room. Each soft exhale feels like a countdown, a reminder that the clock is ticking faster than you can fight. The weight of your failure presses down on you, a physical ache in your chest. You were given this impossible second chance, this sliver of light in the darkness, and you couldn't grasp it. The world had offered a hand, but it wasn't enough. You feel the last embers of defiance dying out, leaving you alone in the familiar, cold shadow of surrender. Your phone buzzes on the table beside you, the vibration, a jarring intrusion into the heavy stillness. You almost ignore it. The sound, an unwelcome echo of a world that has already given you its final, indifferent answer. It's probably just another bill reminder, another small, cruel twist of the knife, but some last, stubborn flicker of instinct makes you reach for it. Your thumb hovers over the screen, expecting nothing. It's not a text message or an email from the bank. It is a notification from a social media app you rarely open, a digital space you've always felt disconnected from. Someone you don't know has tagged you in a video. The thumbnail is a blurry collage of sterile white and shadowed gray, but you recognize the shape of a man's slumped shoulders, a shape you know is yours. You tap the screen, your heart beginning a slow, heavy drum against your ribs. The video plays. It's shaky, filmed from a distance, but the scene is instantly, horribly familiar. The merciless fluorescent lights of the clinic, the cold steel of the examination table. You see yourself from the outside, a broken figure wrapped around your dog, and then you see it, the moment that is seared into your soul. With an impossible effort that the camera captures in raw, unfiltered detail, Buddy lifts his head. He turns and he returns your embrace, a final, conscious act of comfort. There is no dramatic soundtrack, only the muffled, ragged sound of your own sobs, and the profound, suspended silence of the room. A wave of violation washes over you, the feeling of having a sacred, private grief laid bare for the world. But it is immediately followed by something else, something you cannot name. Beneath the video, a single sentence is typed in simple, unadorned text. I saw a love that refused to say goodbye. The words land with the force of a physical impact, reframing the entire moment. The stranger who filmed this didn't see a tragic end. They saw a defiant beginning. They saw a bond so powerful it seemed to bend the very rules of life itself. Your feeling of exposure begins to morph into a strange, disbelieving awe. You look at the view count, a small number at first, but it's climbing with a dizzying speed. 100. 1,000. Then, 10,000. Comments begin to flood in, a torrent of words from people you will never meet, all of them echoing the same powerful sentiment. They don't just see a man and his dog. They see a love that feels universal. The numbers on the screen become an incomprehensible blur, a digital wildfire spreading with impossible speed. The video is being shared, reposted, and embedded across platforms by thousands, then hundreds of thousands of people. That quiet, profound loyalty you held in the sterile confines of the clinic, your most private virtue, has become a public beacon. It is a signal of pure, unconditional love that cuts through the noise and cynicism of the internet, touching a nerve deep within the collective heart of strangers. The link to the GoFundMe page, added by the original poster, is now attached to every share. You watch, frozen in disbelief, as the donation bar on the page begins to move again, not with a trickle, but with a powerful surging momentum that takes your breath away. In less than a day, the impossible becomes your new reality. The number on the fundraising page blows past 5,000, then 10, then soars beyond the $12,000 goal. It doesn't stop. It keeps climbing, a tidal wave of compassion from a world of strangers who saw their own capacity for love reflected in that one final embrace. Your phone has become a chaotic symphony of notifications, each buzz and chime a testament to the overwhelming power of a single shared moment. The mountain of debt that stood between you and Buddy's life has not just been climbed. It has been utterly obliterated. You have the money. The surgery is no longer a desperate dream. But as you stare at the screen, at the ever-rising total, a new and far more profound question begins to form in the silence. What are you supposed to do with a miracle? The sun feels impossibly warm on your skin, a stark contrast to the memory of cold steel that still haunts the edges of your thoughts. You are sitting on a blanket of lush green grass in a Pittsburgh park, the air thick with the sweet smell of freshly cut lawns and the distant laughter of children. The world around you is a vibrant tapestry of life, but all your senses are focused on a single point in the distance, where the veterinarian's car has just pulled to a stop. Your heart is a frantic drum against your ribs, a chaotic rhythm of hope and fear. You can feel the slight tremor in your hands, the same hands that once felt so useless, now clenched in anticipation. This is the moment of truth, the culmination of 1,000 prayers from 1,000,000 strangers. You are waiting for a miracle you can finally touch. Then you see him. The assistant opens the car door, and a flash of familiar golden fur emerges into the bright sunlight. For a heart-stopping second, he just stands there, looking small and uncertain in the vast green expanse. Is it really him? Is the weakness gone? Your breath catches in your throat, a painful, sharp knot of suspense. The distance feels immense, a chasm, separating your past grief from this potential future. You watch as he takes a hesitant step, then another, his paws tentative on the soft earth, as if reacquainting himself with a world he almost left behind. He lifts his head, his ears perking up as he scans the park, and then his eyes, clear and bright and full of life, lock onto yours from across the field. The hesitation vanishes in an instant, replaced by pure, unbridled energy. He doesn't just run, he explodes into motion, a golden blur against the green grass. His ears are flapping in the wind, his tail held high like a banner of victory. This isn't the tired, pained creature from the clinic. This is Buddy, reborn. The world seems to shift into slow motion as you watch him fly towards you, his powerful legs eating up the distance with every joyful bound. The sound of his paws thudding against the soft earth grows louder, a crescendo that matches the frantic, triumphant beat of your own heart. This is the sight you allowed yourself to dream of in your darkest moments, a vision of life so potent and beautiful it brings a sharp, sudden sting to your eyes. He doesn't slow down. In the final few feet he leaps, a cannonball of pure love and kinetic energy launched directly into your waiting arms. The impact is a joyous shockwave that sends you tumbling back onto the grass, the air knocked from your lungs in a surprised laugh. He is all over you, a whirlwind of wet kisses, happy whines, and the frantic thumping of his tail against your chest. You feel the solid living weight of him, the strength in his body, the warmth of his breath on your face. It's a sensory overload of the most profound kind, a physical confirmation that this is not a dream. The cold, sterile silence of the clinic is completely erased, replaced by this chaotic, beautiful symphony of a second chance. He is here, he is whole, and he is yours. You wrap your arms around him, pulling him tight against you in an embrace that mirrors the one that started it all, but this one is a celebration, not a farewell. There is no scent of antiseptic, only the familiar, comforting smell of his sun-warmed fur and the rich, loamy scent of the earth beneath you. There are no merciless fluorescent lights, only the brilliant, golden glow of the afternoon sun bathing you both in its warmth. His heart is a powerful, galloping drum against your own, a vibrant, undeniable rhythm of life. You hold him, feeling the solid muscle and bone beneath his coat, and you close your eyes, memorizing this perfect, impossible moment. This is not a goodbye. This is the first hello of a new life you never thought you would have. Tears stream freely down your face, but they are not the hot, desperate tears of grief. They are tears of catharsis, of a gratitude so immense it feels like it could shatter you. You bury your face in his fur, your shoulders shaking with silent, joyful sobs that rack your entire body. He was given back to you, pulled from the very edge of oblivion by the collective compassion of a world you didn't know existed. The weight of helplessness that has crushed you for weeks is finally lifted, replaced by a lightness you haven't felt in years. As you hold him, feeling the steady beat of his heart against yours, you realize this was never just about the money. The miracle was not the fundraising. It was the proof that a love this pure could echo across the globe. But what do you do when the world answers your prayer with more than you ever asked for? You are no longer the same man who knelt on that cold, sterile floor. The quiet desperation that once clung to you like the scent of motor oil has been washed away, replaced by a profound and steady certainty that you are not, and have never truly been, alone. The silence in your small apartment is no longer a void threatening to swallow you whole. It is a peaceful space, filled with the gentle rhythm of Buddy's breathing and the quiet hum of your own restored hope. That crushing weight of helplessness, the feeling of being a solitary man fighting an indifferent system, has been lifted. You walk through the world differently now, your shoulders straighter, your gaze meeting the eyes of strangers not with suspicion, but with a quiet acknowledgement of the invisible threads of kindness that connect you all. You were a man who fixed broken things, and now you see the world not as broken, but as something that can be mended. The money that poured in from the hearts of strangers felt less like a donation and more like a sacred trust. After the surgery was paid, a significant sum remained, a testament to the sheer scale of the world's compassion. It wasn't your money. You knew that with a clarity that felt like a calling. It was a debt to be repaid, not to the donors, but to the very idea of love they had championed. So you created something new from the ashes of your fear. You call it Buddy's Embrace, a small foundation dedicated to helping other pet owners who find themselves standing at that same impossible crossroads of love and economic hardship. Your hands, once stained with grease and useless against fate, now sign the checks that give other families their own second chance, transforming a single act of kindness into a sustainable current of hope. Your story became a quiet legend in Pittsburgh. It rippled outwards from the sterile walls of the clinic, carried on local news broadcasts and in the pages of the city paper. The veterinarian, once just a compassionate professional, found her clinic celebrated as a benchmark for empathy, a place where miracles were not just hoped for, but actively pursued. At the garage, your coworkers no longer see you as just Liam, the quiet mechanic in the corner. You are a living testament to something extraordinary. People stop by not just for an oil change, but to shake your hand, to see Buddy, to share a story about a beloved pet of their own. You have become an accidental pillar of your community, a reminder that even in a city forged from steel, the strongest bonds are forged from something far more delicate. The memory of that final, impossible embrace has been transformed. It is no longer a brand of grief seared into your soul, but a guiding star. The image of Buddy lifting his head, choosing comfort over surrender in his final moments, has become your personal creed. It taught you that love is not a passive feeling, but an active force, a defiant act against the encroaching darkness. You often find yourself looking at your own hands, remembering how powerless they felt on that cold examination table. Now, they feel different. They still fix engines, they still bear the calluses of hard labor, but they also draft letters for the foundation, they comfort other grieving owners, they have become instruments of the very compassion that saved you. They are no longer just the hands of a mechanic, they are the hands of a guardian. The video of that embrace became more than just a viral moment, it became a symbol. It was a digital message in a bottle that washed up on the shores of millions of screens, carrying a simple, powerful truth. You receive emails from across the country, from people in situations you can scarcely imagine, all telling you the same thing, that seeing that one pure act of loyalty gave them the strength to keep fighting their own battles. Your intensely private moment of love and heartbreak became a public parable about the tangible power of compassion. You are no longer just the owner of the story, you are its steward, tasked with protecting its meaning and ensuring its light continues to shine, proving to a cynical world that love is still the most potent force for change. Now, sitting in the park under the warm afternoon sun, you watch Buddy chase a fallen leaf, his movements fluid and full of life. The vast, public impact of your story fades into the background, and all that remains is this simple, perfect truth. The warmth on your skin, the solid weight of him leaning against your leg, the steady, rhythmic thump of his tail against the grass. You pull him close, burying your face in his fur, and you feel his strong, steady heartbeat against your chest. It's the same beat you thought you were feeling for the last time, now a vibrant, unending symphony. You realize the world didn't just save his life, it saved yours. And you are left with the beautiful, terrifying question of how to live a life worthy of such an impossible gift. You now understand that the world is not as cold as that stainless steel table. Sitting here, with the sun warming your face and the gentle weight of Buddy leaning against you, you feel the profound shift that has occurred not just in your circumstances, but within your very soul. The man who once felt defined by the grease on his hands and the emptiness of his pockets has been remade by the currency of compassion. You are a testament to the fact that even in a world forged from hard steel and cold logic, the softest, most vulnerable displays of love possess an earth-shattering power. This warmth you feel isn't just the afternoon sun. It is the residual glow from a million strangers who saw your heart and decided it was worth protecting, proving that the most powerful engines are not the ones you fix, but the ones that beat in unison for a common cause. The true miracle, you realize, was never about the money. The $12,000 was just a symptom of a much deeper transaction. The real miracle was the connection itself, the validation that your intensely private love for your companion was a language the entire world could understand without a single word of translation. It was the discovery that in your moment of absolute isolation, you were in fact the least alone you had ever been. You were connected by invisible threads of empathy to countless others who have known that same fierce protective love. The video didn't just capture an image. It captured a universal truth, a shared piece of the human heart, and in doing so, it transformed a quiet act of loyalty into a global chorus of support that echoed back to you when you needed to hear it most. In the end, this story is a simple diagnosis for a complex world. We all find ourselves on a cold examination table at some point, facing a verdict that feels final and a system that feels indifferent. We are told what is and isn't possible, what things are worth, and what we can afford to save. But your journey proves that compassion is the one force that can rewrite any prognosis. It is the unlisted treatment, the off-label cure that reminds us that our true value is not measured by our bank statements, but by our capacity to love and be loved. That final embrace was a prescription for the world's cynicism, a powerful dose of hope, demonstrating that the most profound healing begins when one heart dares to reach out to another, refusing to accept the end of the story. This journey also became a quiet act of rebellion, a testament to the idea that a community's heart can be a more powerful institution than any bank. The world is full of unyielding systems and closed doors, of rules designed to quantify the unquantifiable and measure a life's worth on a balance sheet. But the flood of support you received was a vote against that cold arithmetic. It was a collective declaration that some things are priceless, that loyalty is a resource worth protecting, and that a shared sense of justice can move mountains that one person could never hope to climb alone. It proved that when enough people decide to care, they can create their own economy, one where the only currency that truly matters is the unwavering belief that no one should have to face their darkest moments completely on their own. That embrace, which you believed to be the final punctuation mark on a life of devotion, was not an ending at all. It was a catalyst. It was the single, silent plea that launched 1,000 acts of kindness. It teaches us that in our moments of greatest vulnerability, when we are stripped of everything but the love we have to give, we are at our most powerful. The most beautiful and world-changing things are not born from strength, but from the courage to show our broken hearts, to love fiercely, even in the face of certain loss. That one gesture of comfort from him to you became a gesture of comfort for millions, a reminder that the purest acts of love are never truly lost. They simply ripple outwards, seeking new shores to land on and new hearts to mend. So now, we turn the camera back to you. What is the embrace you will remember? What is the quiet act of loyalty in your own life that defined who you are? Look around you, at the stories unfolding in the periphery, at the silent battles being fought in the hearts of those you pass every day. You have the power to be the stranger in the clinic, the coworker with the envelope, the voice that says wait when all hope seems lost. Your compassion is a currency, your empathy is a superpower. Do not let it sit dormant. Share this story not just as a video you watched, but as a promise you will keep. A promise to look for the love that refuses to say goodbye, and to ensure it never has to.